Howdy everybody, it's Brian from quantlabs.net here. Okay, so if you have seen my MySQL, we have run into a big roadblock, uh, which is quite simply just due to the fact of if I load up my blog, just give me a second here. This is MySQL. The reason I'm no longer using MySQL on OS 10 is quite simply this is the big reason. And I'm putting the warning out for people because Oracle doesn't like, Oracle's just going downhill really fast. Anyways, Oracle doesn't support El Capitan for, if you scroll down here, if you're ever interested in why. Here I said Oracle, the MySQL Workbench, the utilities, you need to import. But then here, they don't have support for El Capitan. This thing's been out for 6 months. OS 10 El Capitan since the summer. Need more details, go here. So it really messes you up. I didn't know this, but Oracle's just really well known for butchering themselves. So bye-bye, Oracle. So what I've done is I'm going to go back to my original Postgres because that's, everything is in Postgres. So we'll keep it in Postgres on OS 10. But I'm going to show you why the Mac and the OS 10 community is really good for things like Postgres. So the nice thing is if you come into this URL here, you will find a great install somewhere in here. No. Let's see. There's this Postgres app that you can download, basically. And what we'll do is, once you get that installed, all you gotta do is run this puppy, and you'll see this little icon in your bar, which is running Postgres. So if I quit and then relaunch it, this is the server now, the Postgres. It's starting the server. If I want to get into the PSQL shell, I can do that from here as well and do my Postgres. For instance, you can do things like, now this is in PSQL. You can verify databases. So let me just run that. So here are all my databases. I just created this new database here called QLN. Okay, the original, in my original script, is called test. I'll share that in a minute. But so I've got a new database called QLN. I'll show you how to connect and create all that in these steps here. Well, all the needed provided all the URLs to get you started, and just run create database QLN. You can verify, as I said, by that /l. You can then connect into QLN by doing this /c QLN. Boom. Okay, so you can see here I'm connected to the QLN. So let me get out of this session. So who wants to work with a shell? I'm a visual person. So there's a number of options here you can use for OS 10. There's one called Valentina client, a GUI client. I don't recommend it. I had just registration problems and I stopped. There's also another one called PSQL, PSQL. It's very primitive. I mean, the guy's developing his part in his spare time, so I'm not going to sit here and slag him for it because it takes a lot. So if you come here under Postgres, actually this is the link right here, you can use this one called Postico. Now this is a really nice one, but it does cost some money. In my case, 45 bucks Canadian. I think it's worth it. So let me show you that one. So if you come under Postico, that's the client. What we can do here is we just connect. It's so simple. In my case, I want my QLN database. You can see there's nothing here. So we could do whatever visually. I'm not going to do that. So in my case, I'll just pull up one of these random databases and whatever. But you can do it visually in a nice GUI tool. Now, a couple of things here. As I said, we are working with a really big, massive, crazy SQL file. This is in Postgres because when I try to kind of port it over to MySQL, it's going to be a complete mess. So as I said, I thought Postgres in Mac would be like a really bad experience, but I find that it's actually better than MySQL just due to that problem I showed you thanks to Oracle. So what we're going to do here, we've got this massive file that you download if you are a Quant Elite member, and then you just look for this title here. Once you create your membership, just look for this title, PostGreSQL Database SQL for AK47. So that's a trading database, which is this. This is the actual SQL in the file. Actually, that's the wrong one. Okay, let me show you that. This is it. It's called export. Actually, it's good. Let me start all over again. Okay, I downloaded it. I have it in a temp folder. So let me just go to there. Documents. So we have a temp folder here. This is the actual file that you'll download. Okay, so I'm just going to open it up with Sublime. It's a big file. It takes a while for it to open up. Now, in the meantime, when you need to pay attention to some terminal session stuff, this is pretty well any important PSQL. So if you want to run PSQL on Postgres, you can do that at the command level. What you need to do is you need to make some changes here. Okay, let me just let this puppy load up here. Okay, so this is a script, the massive SQL script. Okie dokie, yay. But you can see there's all the data, or sorry, the DDL, basically the structure of the databases, or sorry, the tables. And there's quite a few number of tables. I've shown this before, and then we get into the data. But you can see how big this SQL, and this has been created on my Windows environment using Razer SQL, and then I've uploaded it for my members. And as I said, to download this file, what you need to do is look for this Postgres SQL database SQL for AK47, and this is it. So there's a number of choices we can do to batch import this into my Postgres. The best thing to do is when you open up your Postgres, your terminal, what you need to do is there's in this case on the Mac OS X, there is the bash profile. I've shown this in my MySQL setup. Let's see, where am I? Oh, I'm still in. I think I'm still in the Postgres here. Yeah. Okay. So this is the default path when you create a new. It's basically your home directory. So in there is a bash profile. Now it's .bash _ whatever. Might be better if I do profile. I'll show you the different ones. So the one we're going to look at is this one, which is as you log in, this gets loaded into that session in your terminal. So if you look at the export on the path, what I've done here is to get it working is if you load in this little guy right here, as I showed you the Postgres, you can open a terminal into PSQL like so. So I think I did this before. Yeah, I've shown you the different commands just to verify the databases, how to connect into the database. So we're going to connect into this guy, QLN. Yeah, I've shown you all this before. Okay. Oop. All right. So knowing all that, we have to we have to allow ourselves to be able to load in or find the PSQL on our path. So what I've done here is, let me just, probably overwhelming. You can get overwhelmed pretty fast. Come into the elephant, open PSQL. Right here, this is the location of the PSQL bin file. So it's in this path here, application, Postgres, contents, versions, bin. And what I've done here, I've taken that exact path and put it on the path, including itself. No different than I've shown in the MySQL. In this case, I most likely won't be using MySQL because of that Oracle issue. So because we have the PSQL now on the path, every time we create a new session, we can load in the PSQL. Okay, I'm just trying to get used to these. So no, we don't want to make any changes. All right, so as I can say, there's PSQL is now on the terminal. So let me just quit. Now, what we're going to do now, I've never done this before. Hopefully this will work. We're going to do a mass import. So what we're going to do is we're going to load in the PSQL, the database name, the QLNN, and the database dump. Now, the database dump is no different than what I've shown earlier in my Sublime, this entire SQL that you're going to download. First thing I need to do is, because I don't have a database called test, I need to rename that to QLN because that's the actual name of the database on this Mac as opposed to my previous Windows system. So I need to change those names. So let me come under here, find, replace. So we're going to change all the iterations of test, change it to QLN. Now this is going to take a while because it's a massive file. Yeah, so in the meantime, yep, so there's a little beach ball, off it goes and spins around. All right, so knowing what we know, so let me just recap where we're at right now while we wait for our massive database change. Okay, so what I've done in a nutshell is, if I got this particular text file, I'll put this in my blog. What we're doing is, first we need to choose the right GUI tool that we want. Or actually, sorry, we need to install our Postgres. So just come here. This is for Mac OS X. Just come under here to Postgres app, and it's very simple. Okay. This guy right here. All I got to do is download and then run it, and then that will enable you to start up the server as so. You can set up the PSQL terminal, as I've shown before, numerous times now. And the other thing that we want is what GUI tool. So again, we're using Portico, this one, which is essentially, oops, it's essentially this guy, Postico. That's what we're using. The $50 is a trial. But I showed this before. We're going to connect into our local host. Go into our localhost databases, QLN, empty. Okay. So this is a great tool. So again, let me just reiterate here. For anybody who wants to do this, we need to create or download our big script. Okay, our big script from my my members quant leap members section, and the default is test. But in my case, I'll probably re-upload this. But you need to change the database to whatever you're going to call. In my case, QLN, and hopefully with these changes, I'm going to save this file save as. So we'll call this Postgres Mac, I guess. Doesn't really matter. It should work on any platform as long as you have the Windows, Linux, or Mac, no problem. So we'll save that. Okay. So now we go into our terminal. We're going to do a mass import, what I just talked about here. So we're going to run PSQL, the database name, which is QLN, and then import through a pipe. Actually, it's not a pipe, but we're going as the input of the name of the file. Okay, so let's go into our temp directory. Gotta still understand. Okay, I think I gotta go into documents, TMP. Okay, so this is the actual export. We're gonna name it. So let me just rename that to a better name. So we'll call it export, no spaces, just for make sure. Postgres Mac. Okay. So we're going to import that SQL. So if I list again, here's our new file I just created, or yeah, just saved. Okay, so we're going to do PSQL, QLN, export. Now this may not work, but we're doing this for the first time, so let's see what happens. Error, invalid byte sequence for, oh gee, no. This shouldn't really be happening. This is due to some errors. Let me think here. So let me use Nano, the editor, export, see what we're dealing with here. There's a bad character in there somewhere, and do I really want to go through it? No, not really. There's an easier way maybe to do it. I can always just use Razer SQL to trial. Export. So I'm just trying to make sure I understand what this error is. PSQL, so let's try it again. What's the error? Invalid byte sequence for UTF. That could mean anything. Okay, well, let's try the fancy schmancy Razer SQL. Razer SQL, I'll have to go through the trial, blah, 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 all that fun stuff. So we want Mac OS 10, L kappa 10. So let's try this out in raw sequence, see the download session, blah, 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 blah. I prefer actually PostGreSQL versus the Razer SQL, but this is the old version of, but the Razer SQL, let me just give PostGreSQL a chance here. My thinking process is not doing too good here at close to midnight. Okay, so we're going to do a connect. We're going to choose our QLN now. So the question becomes, can I import? New table, no. Maintenance, no. Copy, no. Can we do a massive import? don't see any import, but I know Razer SQL can do it. So let's try Razer SQL, and I'm going to give that little guy an opportunity. You can see once you get used to a Mac, you can fly through all this stuff really fast, but still have the security and the security of Linux, but yet you have a nice interface that's really easy to work with. Okay, so I have to move this puppy over to my applications. It's not too difficult. Come on. Yes, we know that. Okay, let's drag and drop. Okay. I don't mind Razer SQL, but there are a lot more features in any of the Postgres clients that I've seen, so it's not too bad. So let's load that puppy up, open. Okay, so for those that have seen this piece of software, okay, yeah, we accept, yeah. Verify, register later. Okay, so let me try to, okay, database type. Okay, so we are using Postgres from, I guess we're going to use the native driver. Okay, so we're going to use, I believe, localhost 5432 is the port. The database name, again, is called QLN. Let's see if blah, 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 blah. No, that's extra stuff we don't really need, I don't think. So authentication. Just try to, let's call this QLN, I guess. Oh, we did connect. That was easy. Wow. Okay, so we have a QLN. So I believe maybe I'm missing something here. So we want to create tables, create a database. Yes. So we want to call the database QLN. Owner, use default, generate the SQL, execute. There we go. Oh, error, database already exists. Okay. So we got QLN. I don't know where the import is. So we have import, but we want to import data. Schema, maybe it's here. Information schema. We want to import. There's what we want to do, but the question is how do we get that puppy? Because I've done this before. Create, no. So generate database conversion. Create index. Information, generate DDL, database conversion. Oh, I'm sure you don't want to watch me figure it out. Alrighty, so are we recording? We are recording. Okay, so I found our little problem here. If you come under DB tools, import data, we are importing from a SQL statement. So SQL statements now. Let's do next. Now it's asking for the SQL file, so that should be easy. Now we set it's under temp. Oh, there it is. Okay, so let's what could we use? Export. Was this the one I used? Export Postgres. Okay, we'll use that one. This one. Okay. Open. SQL separator. I can't remember what we did. Go. There you go. Yeah, that's our separator. Let's see if this works. Execute one statement at a time. Halt on error. So here's our statements, and it looks like it should work. Insert into. Okay. Execute as a batch. Let's do that. Reduces number of network calls. Now this may take a while, so I may need to pause again. No, error occurred, batch entry. Get next to see the cause. Let's try this one. Wow. Schema does not exist. Okay. Schema. That makes sense. So we need to create a new schema. Create. No. Create. We have to, I don't know. Create user. Edit. Let me pause this. Okay, so I've kind of got this working. What we have here is we have Razer SQL in the QLN database with one table populated with data. Awesome. You can see here the stocks here is working, and we've got, let me just see how many we got here. Instances. All right. So, damn, not doing too good today. It's past my bedtime. Oh well. We push on, courtesy of coffee. Always helps to type properly. Okay, so we have 25,000 stocks from Yahoo Finance. I'm going to let you know where the source is so you can kind of do it on your own. Okay, so you can see here we have some info here. So let's talk about the source of where this data comes from. If you do a search for the following, a list of all Yahoo Finance stock tickers, you will find the gold mine that I use. Here is the entire set of data, and you download here. Here's the amount of database rows we're talking about for rows, ETFs, features, and all that. That's the source. And it's a massive Excel file in here. Now this is Excel for Office or Office 365. So you can see here it's divided up into separate worksheets. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on what we're going to use. We've got the stocks, we've got that working. We're going to try to do ETF, future, index, mutual fund. Currency we don't really need at this point. And bond we don't really care about. But these are all these symbols that you can use that are tracked within Yahoo Finance. So just alone on this on the stock, it's quite a bit. So let me show you how I did the stock one. This in this worksheet here. We've got our Razer SQL. We have our Excel in each spreadsheet. You'll notice a big difference here between, let's say, the future, which is the original, and the stock. What I've done here is I've removed all this data, these rows here, and just left the header. Okay, and I just deleted it. So we're going to do the same thing with stock symbols. So in this case, for futures, I'll just remove that, but I'll try that in a little bit. But in essence, for the ETF, very simple stuff here. Once you delete those top 3 rows, you can now save the worksheet. So what do? Well, if you go under File, Save As, choose CSV, name it whatever you want. I've got this set of ETF here, and then you just save it. That's it. I'll try to show you the other ones, like the future indexes and all that, in a bit. So once you get that all figured out, what you need to do is to come under Razer SQL to import it. So we have our tables. So we've done stocks. So now we're going to do ETF. Correct. So what we do here is do a right click. Or well, it depends what you're using. But in my case, you're importing data. Now we're going to choose CSV here and make sure that we've got existing table into ETF. Okay. So we're going to delimit obviously by comma. Choose our file, which is this one. Now we're going to make sure everything all matches up. So we got ETF, ticker row. Let's see what we got here. So essentially, it will load in ticker, name, exchange. Okay, everything else we don't really need to worry about. I don't think. But let's see what happens. We'll go next. List does not contain delimited values. What are we dealing with here? File encoding, default. Okay, CSV, comma. So when you're in your Excel, now again, this is the latest version, the current version. I think this is 2016, Office 365. You save it, continue. Let me just make sure because this is kind of important. So we do a save as, CSV, options, and we want to use the active sheet. Yeah, we don't care about the features because it's a CSV. They should work now. Did for the stocks. Okay, comma. So we got import public, import into existing table, ETF, correct. Delimiter, comma, ETF. So let me just make sure we got everything lined up. Okay, so why don't I do this? Unclick these ones here because maybe that's part of the problem. Okay, so it looks like it's going to work, hopefully. So this is what's going to get imported or executed while it's importing the CSV. So let's hope this works. Yeah, looks like it's working. So next one we're gonna do is the futures and walk you through that. So the import was executed. Awesome. So let's close that. So if I do a select on ETF, there we go. Everything else is not included. Obviously, we don't care about that stuff. You might get these kind of errors, but whatever. We can live. All right, so we've done stock, ETF, let's do futures. So as I said, we got to remove these first 3. Delete. So all we're left with is the header and then the data. So now we do a file save as, sorry. CSV, options we don't care about. But in this case, we're going to call it future. Okay. Let's make sure we navigate to the right folder here. Save. Save active sheet. Continue. That means we're removing all the features of Excel in the CSV, comma separated values. So let's do this now for futures. So in Razer SQL, click on that. Make sure we choose, where's it? Import data. Now we always make sure you got the CSV picked off, comma separated value. Future goes into the future table. Make sure that's the case. Delimiter, again, comma, delimited file. We're now going to do future. Okay, so something's wrong here. So the future is the same. It only has the first 3 columns. Index, same. But here you have a couple of more category names for stock. But for both the ETF, we only have 3 columns. And the futures as well is only 3 columns. So that's good. Next, execute one statement at a time. So that's the SQL. So now we're importing the futures. So the next one we'll do is probably an index. We could do mutual funds. I don't really use mutual funds in the past, but I'll do it anyways just for fun. Because right now all we care about is we could focus on Forex. Well, might as well try Forex. Well, I don't have any tables set up for it, so I'm not going to worry about it at this point. So you can see this quite a bit. There we go, it's executed. Beautiful, close her up. Now, we've got future. It's all there, cool. So, how many have we imported? $38,439. How many did we import of ETF? 12,000. Well, close to 13,000. So, as I said, we're going to do a couple more. We've got index and mutual fund. Currency, I'm not going to worry about quite yet. Again, it's the same thing. Remove the first 3 rows. Save. Okay, we're going to continue. But now what we're going to choose is save as. Make sure we pick off that right. So in this case, we are doing, what are we doing? Is it index? So yeah, we're doing index. So let me just repeat that. File as. Okay. Yep. No, we want to call it, just for consistency, call it index, right? All the indices. Okay, save it. Save the active sheet. Continue. Boom. Let's go to Razer SQL. Now, we are doing indices. So import data. We are always making sure CSV, going into indices. So here we have, how many columns are there? I think there's only 3. So what I can do is, can ignore these. Do comma delimited. Pick off the right file, which is index. And let's see what happens. So that's what's going to get imported. Execute. Then we got one more mutual funds. Now, just so everybody knows that may be new to this, what I'm using for indices and mutual funds, I don't trade on, but I'm just putting it in there for let's say bragging rights. Yeah, I'll go with that. So here we sit. Now, my system will be able to trade off any of these based upon the data that's presented to it, obviously, from this database. So we know that should work. Let's see, indices. Indices. There we go. Count 32. Okay. Whoa! Looks good. All right. So we're now going to do one last one called mutual funds. Probably rinse and repeat. You know what I'm doing here. Delete. So now we're going to save it. So let me just continue. File, save. Oh, no, we don't want that. Save as. This is mutual funds. Mutual funds. Put it into the Yahoo Finance Excel. Thank you very much. Save active sheet. Continue. That's it. Last import. Ain't this exciting? Okay, so we are now doing mutual fund. Import data. CSV mutual fund. Boom. Delimiter, comma. File. Oop. Okay. Deleted file. We are doing mutual funds. Blah, 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 blah. Don't need this stuff. Just to verify that I'm pretty sure that's the case. Yep. Don't need the last three columns. Next. Boom, boom, boom. Execute. Ooh, this is awesome. Just out of curiosity, where's our currencies? The currency. Okay. I'm going to take it as far as that. I'm not going to worry too much about the currency yet. I'll probably do that separately in a separate video, separate process. Mutual fund. Beautiful. Okay, count. Let's just see. 27,895. Okay, let's check out the source now. A couple of things I want you to be paying attention to. In here somewhere is the date that this was created. So essentially there are over 238,000 tickers. Let's see, this was created in January. Okay, so this was updated January 2015. Now we're coming into January 2016. So I bet you in a couple of weeks this will get updated. But so far it's only a year old. I think that's pretty good. So we've got ourselves a good database so far from the old system. All the data is included. Might not be exact, but it's more up to date. And then that leaves me with, let me just try out my Postico. Oh. Postico, where are you? And just play around with Postico, connect. Now the thing is we don't need Razer SQL anymore. So let's say, so there you go. There's all our data. So we've got future data. Let's see if we can get any BlackRock. I don't know, gold. Gold. I don't know. Oh, we can't do it. No free lunch in the trial version of software. Okay, so everything's working. Hallelujah. Party in the streets, and hopefully you enjoyed that. And you can create on your own. What I'll do is I'll upload this new data for my members as well. Okay, so hang tight. It's going to get better as we move along. Over and out.